Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 13 minutes. Axiom 4 mission's Dragon capsule carrying Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla and three crew mates successfully docks with International Space Station. US Defense Chief Hegseth holds briefing at Pentagon, cites CIA report saying Iran's nuclear sites severely damaged in recent US strikes. European Union leaders gather for a roundtable at European Union summit in Brussels. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth held a major news conference on Thursday to quell doubts over the damage done by US strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Hegseth cited various reports saying Iran's nuclear sites severely damaged in recent US strikes.
CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by recent targeted strikes. Several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced information to keep appropriate decision makers fully informed.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on Thursday warned of any future aggression against Iran would come at a great cost. Khamenei also said that Iran's ability to potentially reach major US military bases is a considerable achievement. He added that such actions could be repeated if aggression is renewed. Meanwhile, Iranian authorities have intensified an internal security crackdown across the country with mass arrests, executions and military deployments, particularly in the Rest Kurdish region. IRGC arrested 26 people, accusing them of collaborating with Israel days after a ceasefire between the two countries was announced. The arrest came after Israel's military chief said Wednesday that it had commandos operated secretly inside Iran's during the country's 12-day war, as its spy chief also hailed assistance from US intelligence. Security forces set up checkpoints and began arresting suspected spies, with Revolutionary Guards and Basij forces placed on high alerts. Iran also said that it executed 3 men accused of spying for Israel. Both the countries have claimed victory in the conflict since a ceasefire went into effect on Tuesday. However, amid all these, the world is hoping for the things to calm down in West Asia as United States would hold nuclear talks with Iran next week. US President Donald Trump even teased the possibility of a deal. Now, speaking in The Hague, where he attended a NATO summit on Wednesday, Trump said he did not see Iran again engaging in nuclear weapons development. He said US would likely seek a commitment from Iran to end its nuclear ambitions at talks and credited at US strikes on Iran with bringing a swift end to the conflict between Israel and Tehran. Tehran has for decades denied accusations by Western leaders that it is seeking nuclear arms. Trump said he was confident Tehran would pursue a diplomatic path towards reconciliation, though he gave no details on the discussions next week, such as the venue and the participants.
Going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Thursday that he will continue working with US President Donald Trump to defeat common enemies, free hostages, and rapidly expand the circle of peace. Netanyahu shared the message alongside a photo of himself holding hands with Donald Trump. European Union leaders gathered in a summit in Brussels on Thursday to discuss defense priorities and US tariffs, among other topics. The discussion took place a day after a NATO summit in The Hague, where alliance members committed to boosting defense spending to 5% of the GDP. Now, European Union leaders are also to tell the European Commission if they want a quick trade deal with the United States at the cost of Washington getting better terms, or to escalate the fight in hope of something better. The Commission that negotiates trade agreements on behalf of the European Union will ask the leaders of the European Union's 27 members meeting in Brussels how they want to respond to President Donald Trump's July the 9th deadline for a deal, now less than 2 weeks away. Now, in a latest shooting on Mexico, at least 12 persons, including a teenager, were killed during the early hours of Thursday after a gunman opened fire at a religious celebration in the Mexican state. A probe is underway to identify the shooter and the motive behind the attack. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the shooting as deplorable. The new members of U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s panel of vaccine advisors will review the long-approved immunization schedules for children and teens. The panel held its first meeting on Wednesday, pledging to revisit the childhood vaccine schedule and promoting themes long embraced by anti-vaccine activists. The panel's first major test comes on Thursday when it votes on whether to recommend a newly approved antibody shot against respiratory syncytial virus for infants whose mothers did not receive an RSV vaccine during pregnancy. Moving on, the docking procedures of Axiom 4 SpaceX module with the International Space Station was successfully completed. Indian astronaut Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla and other 3 astronauts are on board this historic mission. The AX-4 crew successfully lifted on the 25th of June into space on board SpaceX's Dragon aircraft, nearly a month of delay and postponements. Along with India's Shubhanshu Shukla, aboard the spacecraft are mission specialist Lawot Wisniewski of Poland and Tibor Kapu of Hungary, along with Commander Peggy Whitson of the United States. The crew will spend about 14 days aboard the orbiting lab, completing at least 60 science investigations and STEM outreach events. Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla's family also watched the docking process live as their son becomes now the first Indian on the space station. Shukla's parents got emotional as they watched the live telecast from Lucknow. Shukla has become the first Indian to reach International Space Station and second in space after Rakesh Sharma.
लग रहा है अब ये अंदर चले गए, अब कोई दिक्कत नहीं, वापसी का इंतजार रहेगा कि जल्दी से आए, जल्दी से मिले आके हम लोगों से, उसी का इंतजार।
खुशी है बहुत, अपने को जो है बहुत अच्छा महसूस कर रहे हैं। बच्चे ने सफल उसके जो है डॉकिंग हुई है, इसके लिए हम जो है ईश्वर को बहुत बहुत जो है धन्यवाद करते हैं। बहुत
इंडिया के लिए बहुत प्राउड मोमेंट है। हम डेस्परेटली वेट कर रहे थे कि डॉकिंग हो, सेफली वो पहुंचे और उसकी डॉकिंग हो, एंड वो हमने भी देखा, एंड आई एम सो हैप्पी कि वो डॉकिंग भी सेफली हो गई है।
Indian Minister Jitendra Singh also watched the docking procedure live. The minister lauded India's space journey and congratulated the astronauts on the successful docking.
Congratulations. The first stage has been successfully accomplished, docking accomplished, and in fact they have made it before time. We started our space journey much later compared to the United States or even the Soviet Union. In fact, when we started, by that time the United States of America had already landed a human being on the surface of Earth, the surface of Moon in 1969. But today our credibility, the trustworthiness of our capacities has risen to such an extent that it is our talent which is being looked forward to for a collaboration which would benefit others as well. So I think that's a huge change of what it was till a few years back and it is today.
Moving on, tensions escalated between Thailand and Cambodia on Thursday as the leaders from both the countries visited disputed border areas following last month's deadly clash that killed a Cambodian soldier. Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra toured the Arnapartet border zone, while Cambodia's former Premier Hun Sen, now the Senate President, inspected troops in Odar Mianchi province. The standoff has led to troop mobilizations, trade restrictions and partial border closures. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. The Balkans are experiencing a severe early summer heat wave with temperatures soaring to record highs. Serbia recorded its hottest day since the 19th century on Wednesday, with forecasts predicting up to 40 degrees Celsius across the region in the coming week. Tourists in Montenegro moved from the hot Adriatic coast to cooler mountain resorts like Dormitor, while in Croatia, people escaped the heat and recent wildfires by visiting lakes near Zagreb. South Korea's Nuclear Safety and Security Commission on Thursday approved the first dismantlement of a nuclear power plant in the country. The plant, Kori 1, was permanently shut down in 2017 after 39 years of operation. Renowned French free solo climber Alan Robert scaled the Malia Sky Hotel in Barcelona on Thursday to make a bold call for world peace. Cheered on by his son and the onlookers, Robert reached the top of the skyscraper and unfurled a banner bearing a peace symbol. Amnesty International accused Cambodia's government on Thursday of deliberately ignoring abuses by cybercrime gangs, trafficking people, including children, into slavery at scam compounds. The report identifies 53 confirmed and numerous suspected scam sites across Cambodia, including capital Phnom Penh. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Myanmar's military junta burned an estimated $300 million worth of seized trucks in major ceremonies. And in sports, Jofra Archer in line for a first test appearance in more than 4 years.
Launch a bombing campaign against Iran. The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. We read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India Live. Now, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today took a veiled dig at Pakistan for using cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy. Attending the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting in China, Rajnath Singh reiterated India's stand on zero tolerance against terrorism, saying that any act of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable, regardless of their motivation, whenever, wherever, and by whomsoever committed.
India's zero tolerance for terrorism is manifest today through its actions. This includes our right to defend ourselves against terrorism, and we have shown that epicenters of terrorism are no longer safe, and we will not hesitate to target them.
Without naming Pakistan, the Defence Minister stressed that SCO countries must unite in condemning states which use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy.
It is imperative that those who sponsor, nurture and utilize terrorism for their narrow and selfish ends must bear the consequences. Some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy and provide shelter to terrorists. There should be no place for such double standards. SCO should not hesitate to criticize such nations.
He also spoke about the dastardly and heinous Pahalgam terrorist attack, which killed 26 civilians on the 22nd of April, terming Operation Sindoor carried out thereafter as India's right to defend.
pattern of the Pahalgam terror attack matches with LET's previous terror attacks in India. In exercising its right to defend against terrorism and preempt as well as deter further cross-border terrorist attacks, India on 7th May 2025 successfully launched Operation Sindoor to dismantle cross-border terrorist infrastructure.
In a weekly media briefing, External Affairs Ministry said that the SCO Defence Ministers meeting concluded without adopting a joint statement due to disagreements on certain issues, particularly terrorism, that India wanted to be reflected in the document.
Defence Ministers meeting has concluded. I understand that they could not adopt a joint statement. I also understand that certain member countries could not reach consensus on certain issues, and hence the document could not be finalized. On our side, India wanted concerns on terrorism reflected in the document, which was not acceptable to one particular country, and therefore the statement was not adopted.
On the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting in Qingdao, China, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Thursday held a meeting with Belarusian Defence Minister Lieutenant General Viktor Krenin. The minister called the discussion an enriching interaction. While India has strongly rejected what it described as Pakistan's nefarious agenda at the United Nations Security Council, accusing Islamabad of attempting to deflect attention from its own human rights violation and state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Pavathaneni Harish, issued a sharp rebuttal during UNSC's open debate on children and armed conflict.
Our world is witnessing an alarming escalation in conflicts and terrorist attacks, and children are their most unfortunate casualties. As per the UNSG's report, grave violations against children have surged 25%, while sexual violence has risen 35% in 2024, a sobering indictment that demands immediate and decisive action. Therefore, today's discussion is both urgent and necessary. I am constrained to respond to the politically motivated remarks made by the delegate of Pakistan, one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda. Pakistan is casting unwarranted aspersions over UN processes and also smearing India at various discussions to pursue their nefarious agenda. We reject this attempt by Pakistan to deflect attention from the atrocities committed against children in their country, as highlighted in the Secretary General's report, as well as their rampant cross-border terrorism.
The Indian envoy labelled Pakistan as one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda, referring to the Secretary General's recent CAAC report that detailed grave violations against children in Pakistan, including attacks on girls' schools and health workers.
This report on CAC provides details of serious violations against children in armed conflict in Pakistan. The Secretary General has expressed concern at the rise in such grave violations reported, including attacks against schools, particularly girls' schools, against health workers, and about the incidents in the border areas with Afghanistan, where a series of killing and maiming of Afghan children was directly attributed to cross-border shelling and airstrikes by Pakistani armed forces.
Concluding his remarks, the Indian envoy reiterated India's firm stance on Jammu and Kashmir, stating, and I quote him, "The entire union territory of Jammu and Kashmir has been, is and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India, irrespective of the frequent, incessant spate of lies and falsehoods by Pakistan," unquote. Moving on. President Draupadi Murmu inaugurated a state-of-the-art cancer care centre at Sir Gangaram Hospital in New Delhi. The President interacted with cancer patients and lauded the hospital's key role in providing healthcare services. The state-of-the-art facility is dedicated to cancer patients and features advanced treatment capabilities, offering holistic care to over 200 cancer patients. Delhi Lieutenant General P.K. Saxena and Union Minister of State for Health Anupriya Patel were also present on the occasion. India continues to evacuate its citizens from Israel and Iran even as the news of ceasefire came in. India has so far evacuated 3,426 Indians, 11 OCI card holders, 9 Nepalese nationals, 4 Sri Lankan nationals and 1 Iranian spouse of an Indian national from Iran. A total of 14 special flights from Mashhad, Yerevan, Ashgabat were undertaken for the purpose.
From Iran, we have so far evacuated 3,426 Indian nationals, 11 OCI card holders, 9 Nepalese nationals, and some Sri Lankan nationals as well. I'll give you the exact figure, plus 1 Iranian national who happens to be a spouse of an Indian national. In all, we mounted 14 flights to bring back Indian nationals from Iran. As far as Israel is concerned, we have so far evacuated 818 Indian nationals in 4 flights.
Moving on, skill certificates were awarded to 40 construction labourers in Delhi who have successfully completed an 80-hour skill development training program in Mivan shuttering systems. The training was conducted on-site at a government residential project under CPWD's or Central Public Work Department's initiative to upskill labourers directly at the construction locations. Union Minister for Housing and Urban Affairs Manohar Lal graced the ceremony. This initiative is a part of Modi government's Skill India mission. Myanmar's military junta burned an estimated $300 million worth of seized drugs in major ceremonies across Yangon, Mandalay, Tumye on Thursday. According to police, the incinerated haul included over 1,700 kilograms of heroin, 16,000 kilograms of methamphetamine, and 281 million stimulant pills. Despite the massive destruction, authorities reported a sharp decline in drug seizure due to escalating civil conflict. And now let's get you the latest from sports, to begin with cricket first. Jofra Archer is in line for a first test appearance in more than 4 years after being named in England's squad for next week's match against India at Edgbaston. Now, the 30-year-old made a thrilling start to international cricket in 2019, but has not played a test since 2021 after a series of injuries. A recurring stress fracture in his elbow has required multiple operations, while a stress fracture in his back ruled him out of an entire summer in 2022. Archer returned to a white ball cricket format in early 2023, but when the elbow issue returned, he missed the summer once more. Archer is the only addition to an otherwise unchanged squad from England's thrilling test victory at Headingley. The second test in Birmingham begins on Wednesday. In soccer, Cristiano Ronaldo is close to agreeing a new contract with Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr. Ronaldo's deal was due to expire at the end of June, but sources indicate a 2-year extension is close to being finalized. Ronaldo posted on social media the chapter is over following Riyadh's club final Saudi Pro League game of the season last month, leading to speculation if he was set to leave. FIFA president then raised the prospect of him joining a team involved at the Club World Cup after Al Nassr's failure to qualify for the extended tournament which is being held in the United States. Kylian Mbappe will miss Real Madrid's final Club World Cup group stage game against RB Salzburg. Real Madrid manager Xabi Alonso says Mbappe continues his recovery from illness but should be ready for the knockout phase if they progress. The French forward returned to training earlier in the day after being struck down by acute gastroenteritis last week. Mbappe, who received treatment in hospital in Miami last week, has already missed Real's 1-1 draw with Al Hilal and their 3-1 victory over Pachuca, a victory they achieved despite playing most of the match with 10-man team. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from the country and the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.